Imagine standing beneath a sky carved by wind and time, the horizon painted with ice, smoke, and uncertainty. 40,000 years ago, on a hill dusted in frost, two groups of humans face each other for the first time. One is rugged, thick-boned, their skin pale like the snow, eyes sharp from generations of hunting shadows in a frozen world. The other is leaner, darker, agile, wrapped in hides stitched with bone needles and bold curiosity. This isn't just a meeting. This is the crossing of bloodlines, of destinies. This is the first handshake between Neanderthals and us. Welcome to Prehistoric Medievals. If you're fascinated by the ancient truths that shaped humanity, make sure to subscribe, because the story we're about to unravel will change the way you see yourself. The wind carries scents of pine and charred wood. Below, in a quiet valley, these two human species approach one another cautiously. Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, short, broad, powerful, adapted to the ruthless cold of Europe and Central Asia. Their noses are wide to warm the frigid air, their muscles thick with generations of endurance, their minds sharp, sharper than once believed. Their tools, their fire, their silence, all speak of a people who knew the land intimately. They were not beasts. They were survival sculpted into flesh. And then there's Homo sapiens, our ancestors. Emerging from Africa, taller, with finer features, more complex language and tools that spoke of innovation, not just instinct. Their networks stretched far beyond the horizon. When they entered Neanderthal territory some 50,000 years ago, it wasn't with conquest. It was with curiosity, with courage, and yes, with something else, connection. Don't forget to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals, because we're not just talking bones and stones, we're uncovering the shared heartbeat of humanity. What science has revealed is breathtaking. For years, Neanderthals were dismissed as primitive, less evolved, almost other. But DNA shattered that illusion. Not only did Neanderthals bury the dead, care for the injured, and craft complex tools, they were genetically compatible with us. So compatible, in fact, that many of us carry their DNA today. 1 to 2% of your genome might belong to a people who vanished millennia ago. Every freckle, every strand of hair, every immune response could be echoing their legacy. You are not just descended from Homo sapiens. You are in part Neanderthal. And here's where it gets wild. For decades, it was assumed that Neanderthals had only one blood type, type O. But that myth melted under the microscope. In Siberia's Denisova cave, a Neanderthal woman was found to have type A blood, 100,000 years old. In Croatia's Vendia cave, another had type B. And in the Chagirskaya cave, type A appeared again. A full range of blood types, just like modern humans. More than coincidence, it means this diversity existed even before our species split, before Neanderthal and Homo sapiens became two names. Even rarer traits emerged, like the elusive Rh+ incomplete blood type, long thought extinct, found only in tiny populations in Papua New Guinea and Aboriginal Australia. Yet, Neanderthals had it too. Their blood tells us a truth buried beneath thousands of years. We weren't just close, we were family, separated not by species, but by circumstance. Let that sink in, and while you're reflecting, hit that subscribe button. These aren't just facts. This is your history, hidden in your own body. But this intermingling wasn't without cost. When different blood types mixed through interbreeding, some pregnancies failed. Hemolytic disease, a condition where a mother's immune system attacks her unborn child, may have plagued these unions. The Neanderthal-human fusion was possible, but fragile. Love, or perhaps necessity, brought them together, but biology often pulled them apart. Still, it happened, again and again, long enough, deep enough,
to leave a permanent mark in our genes. And the traits they gave us were far from trivial. Skin tone, hair texture, pain sensitivity, fat storage, even parts of your immune system trace back to them. Neanderthal DNA may be helping your body fight off viruses right now. You carry their fire, their resilience, their story. This isn't just genetics, this is identity. It reframes everything. They weren't primitive, they were different. And different, it turns out, was exactly what we needed. Different gave us strength. Diversity gave us survival. Humanity isn't a single path. It's a braid of roads, some lost, some absorbed, all part of who we are. Picture a Neanderthal mother, heavy with a child whose father is a Homo sapiens hunter. She doesn't speak his tongue, but she remembers his gift, a shard of obsidian, a new knot for a snare. She's strong. She must be. Her body burns through calories just to nurse, to warm, to keep her child alive. Neanderthal babies grew fast, so fast that mothers needed years between each birth. It slowed their population, made them more vulnerable. But they poured everything into each child, not just energy, but love. And it mattered. They cooked, they gathered, they hunted beasts whose names we've long forgotten. With tools like the Mysterian spearhead, crafted with precision, hafted with resin, they carved a living from the world. They weren't guessing. They understood. They remembered. And they taught.
You're watching Prehistoric Medievals. And this isn't just a story, it's a mirror. If you're still with us, make sure you're subscribed. There's more to uncover. Much more. In a wooded valley, beneath an early snowfall, a Neanderthal fire crackles. A child plays with a carved bone doll while her father scrapes sinew from a fresh deer hide. Across the trees, shapes move. Homo sapiens, new to the land, cautious but unafraid. The moment they meet is not violence, it is wonder. A fire shared, a meal passed hand to hand. They don't understand each other's words, but they recognize the hunger, the fear, the need for warmth, the need to belong. And so they sit together. This is how it began, not with conquest, but with fire. And that's where we'll pick up next, because the real turning point, the extinction, the survival, the quiet vanishing of one people while the other grew louder, has yet to be told. So don't miss it. By 40,000 years ago, the world was shifting. Neanderthal fires still glowed in the dark, but the echoes around them were changing. The forests they had known for generations began to vanish under falling ash. The ground trembled, the skies dimmed. What happened wasn't just another cold snap, it was catastrophe. A supervolcano erupted in Italy, the companion Interbreeding event, hurling smoke and sulfur across Europe. The ash settled like snow, suffocating the land, choking the rivers. It wiped out the vegetation that fed the animals Neanderthals depended on. In Russia's Mezmayskaya cave, the layers of ash are thick, lifeless, no pollen, no life. The land fell silent, and Neanderthals, already few in number, began to fade with it. They had survived ice. They had endured predators. But this time, nature itself turned against them. And as the cold deepened, something else pressed in. Us, Homo sapiens. Our ancestors were spreading, adapting. Their networks stretched farther. Their shelters were warmer. Their tools, made of bone, wood, antler, were lighter, more refined. They stitched clothing with needles carved from bone. They painted the inside of caves with symbols of memory. They passed stories through time.
Remember to subscribe to Prehistoric Medievals, because the next moment in this story is the one that changed everything. Interbreeding wasn't enough to save Neanderthals. It happened, yes, but the children of these unions, though alive, inherited a complex fate. Neanderthal Y chromosomes disappeared first, replaced by Homo sapiens ones.
It wasn't because of war. It was the quiet erosion of time, of odds stacked against a shrinking people. When populations are small, even small problems become fatal. Each lost birth, each failed winter was a wound they couldn't recover from. This wasn't a defeat. It was a fading, like a candle burning through its last breath of wax. But even in their twilight, Neanderthals showed us who we are. In Shanidar Cave, in present-day Iraq, the body of an old Neanderthal man was found buried with care. His arm had been crushed, one eye blinded. He walked with a limp, and yet he lived into his 40s. That's not survival, that's compassion. Someone fed him, protected him, loved him. Flowers were placed around his body, pollen still embedded in the soil. Even in death, he was honored. They weren't brutes. They were us. Picture the scene. A quiet cave, a body wrapped in hide. A daughter placing yellow blossoms near his head, not because it meant anything practical, but because it meant everything emotional. A gesture that says, "You mattered." This is Prehistoric Medievals. This is the truth behind the myth. If this resonates, make sure you're subscribed. These stories don't just reveal history, they reveal humanity. Then came another revelation, a girl. Her name was Denny, discovered not through legend, but through a sliver of bone in a Siberian cave. When scientists studied her DNA, they were stunned. She was the daughter of two different species. Her mother, Neanderthal. Her father, Denisovan. Another ancient cousin, separate from both us and them. Denny was a hybrid, a bridge between two vanished worlds. Imagine her growing up in that cave, learning the ways of two cultures, knowing even at a young age that she was something new, something rare. Her very existence proves that human identity has never been simple. We didn't come from a single spark. We are the result of many fires lighting the dark.
And what is more human than that? Neanderthals are gone. But they're not erased. You carry them in your skin, your cells. Maybe even in how your body handles cold or fights disease. Your ability to feel empathy, to create tools, to bond with others. Traces of that legacy echo through you right now. But their extinction carries a warning. Neanderthals were brilliant, resilient, but isolated. Their groups were small, their range limited. When disaster came, volcanoes, climate, disease, they couldn't adapt fast enough. Homo sapiens didn't win. We simply endured. Sometimes, survival is not about being better. It's about being more connected. And that's why these ancient stories matter. They remind us that strength doesn't lie in isolation, but in unity. Think back to that first fire, the shared meal, the silent understanding between strangers. When Neanderthals and Homo sapiens sat together, even for a moment, they chose connection. They didn't speak the same language, but they saw the humanity in one another's eyes. That's the fire we still carry. As the last Neanderthal camps grew quiet, as their tools were buried under layers of time, a piece of them remained. In us. In you. Their story isn't just past, it's personal. So the next time you look in the mirror, remember, your face carries 400,000 years of memory, and part of that memory belongs to them.